So what is the effect on a culture when bad leaders or leaders of bad causes are elevated and celebrated? And what should our attitude be toward those leaders? So this is kind of getting into some of the real stuff here, because often when we talk about culture, we want to talk about what's nice and what's positive, but what I find a lot of the energy, where some of the energy comes from, is when you start talking about the bad leaders, right? The leader, your boss, who's a tyrant, who you can't stand, and the effect that that person is having on you and the culture. So I want to think about bad leaders. In Santa Fe, as many of you know, we have our own equivalent of a Confederate memorial, and it's called the Entrada. And this is a pageant. It happens once a year, and it reenacts the retaking of Santa Fe by the Spanish in 1692 after the indigenous Pueblo people, that is the Native Americans, kicked them out in the 1680s. And this event is often referred to as a peaceful resettlement, but of course many people don't see it that way at all. And so what happens is every September, this happens during fiestas, we have this parade where men who are dressed up as Don Diego de Vargas and his caballeros, the conquistadors, they come riding into the plaza, and there's also La Reina, who is the fiesta's queen, and her court, her royal court, and it's all very festive. And some people say it's all about celebrating our Santa Fe heritage, and others say that it's about celebrating genocide and enslavement.
One day in March of 1990, our founder came in to our farmhouse and said, I'd like to call a meeting and talk about how to organize this company. I've got some ideas on how we can do this better. So we said, sure. So we all got together in a dusty construction trailer that night, and we sat around on steel folding chairs. And our founder passed around a document called the Morningstar Colleague Principles. And basically they boiled down to two things. The first principle was that human beings should not use force or coercion against other human beings. And if you think about this principle, it's the foundation of all law everywhere in the world. So every law against assault and battery and theft and burglary and kidnapping and murder and all the rest is predicated on the principle that people should not use force against other people. And the reason we know this is a fundamental principle is imagine a world where everyone aligned their behavior with this principle. What an amazing world that would be. We wouldn't need armies or navies or police or locks on our doors. It would be amazing. We know that's not reality. We know that we'll never achieve that. But that's not the point. The point is, to the degree we approach that and get closer to that ideal, we experience more happiness, harmony, and prosperity as individual human beings. And the second principle was also rather profound. It was that people should keep the commitments they make to each other.
I'm going to talk about very practical steps that each of us can take as leaders. Each of us are leaders, so in that sense, we are self-managed. So I'm going to talk about some really practical, simple steps you can take to be happier at work and create a happier work culture. And the reason I say the power of love to transform the workplace is that I truly believe that compassion is the key to the future of society, let alone the workplace. And it's sort of the next step that comes naturally from mindfulness. Mindfulness is becoming much more accepted, at least within the tech world of business. But actually, as a teacher and practitioner of mindfulness for all these years, I see mindfulness as the step to connecting with your inherent humanity, your inherent humanness, your goodness, your heart, your compassion.
So how would you like to start every morning with music and dance and joy and laughing and 200 adorable kids? I'm sure that there's probably some that it doesn't sound like a good time, but that's how each morning starts at the Children's Academy and Learning Center, which sits about 2,400 feet in the mountains just south of Port-au-Prince, overlooking Port-au-Prince, in a very, very poor environment, like most of Haiti's poor environment. So how does something like that happen? You know, where you have this amazing engagement in the midst of so much suffering. So we look at Haiti, about 10 million people. 2/3 of the population lives on less than $2 a day. A third lives on less than $1 a day. 50% of school-age children don't go to school. I would say 50% of that do go to school are learning, are being oriented to perpetuate a broken system of corruption, of broken institutions.
Today, I want to talk about magic. I want to talk about superstition, because you see, I'm actually a very superstitious person who believes in magic. And it's the Trappist monks of Mepkin Abbey down in South Carolina that convinced me of this magic. So the first theme I want you to kind of hold in your head, because I'm going to try to illustrate when I want to talk about it through storytelling rather than lecturing to the best of my ability, is happy accidents. You know, if you study history or you even study scientific discoveries, there is this thing called happy accidents. You know, and in my book, The Business Secrets of the Trappist Monks, I said, I don't want to beat people over the head with any kind of religious message, so I said, you can call it grace if you want, or you can call it luck. But there's something about the Trappist model that's lucky as hell. I mean, these guys have been, for 1,000 years, they've been in business. And part of their big deal is they have to raise the money for themselves. They all have businesses. All the Trappist monasteries have business. And they're fabulously successful. And they only work, and they're about average age. At Mepkin, when I first went there, their average age was 65. They work 4 hours a day. They don't talk much. They don't talk at all, pretty much, except when permitted. And you know what? They don't give a damn about business. And they make money hand over fist. So I want to come back to this, happy accidents. This is the ability to have things happen. In my introduction to my book, I said, the Trappist monks don't just know how to make success happen, they know how to let success happen. And this is what I really wanted to get across in my book. How can you let success happen?
It feels like it was a different era. There are things happening in the collective that weren't happening when I first said yes to this. And I'm the kind of person that can't not address that. So I really went through this kind of struggle, shall we say, as a leader, right? Here I am, I've got the mic, look at all you beautiful folks. Like, what's this guy gonna say? And how is he gonna teach us about mindful leadership, right? In 28 minutes and all the science behind it that people have been spending lifetimes studying. All right, how do I do that? And then how do I also try to pay attention to some of the collective work that's happening right now, especially here in the United States? And the only way I could think about doing it is to write a 5-act play.